I will never forget how last summer I had the opportunity to sit here virtually every night of my life and talk about the Worlds Collide Tour. I had so much fun. There are truly no words that I could even use to begin to describe the feeling that I had last summer having the chance to review each and every single night of the Worlds Collide Tour. And just the thought of having the chance to run back and relive all these incredible tour dates all over again as we once again relive the Worlds Collide Tour coming up in the fall of 2026. This is going to be huge. And I just can't wait to be a part of it, which you guys have allowed me to be a part of really from the inception of everything having to involve with Descendants of Zombies. Everything that seems to revolve around Descendants of Zombies I've had something to do with, but it could have never been made possible if never for all of you. So I just want to say thank you in the opening moments of tonight's program for allowing me to be a part of your worlds and your stories for however long it's been. I think it's been somewhere around 10 years. And I think back on all the memories and all the moments that we had the chance to not only share in, but also create together. And it was truly a life-changing experience for me. While I can't speak for everybody out there who uploads videos about Descendants of Zombies from time to time, this really was a life-changing experience for me because I got to sit here and talk about Kylie Contrell and the progression of her career, which was really uplifting for me. I had the chance to talk about Ruby Rose Turner, and I had the chance to talk about many of your favorites. Many of you who have been following me for a very long time, for over 10 years, know that these characters and their stories have held a very emotional place in my heart for quite some time because I had the chance to see them really come of age and grow up in an industry that is very difficult to establish a name from yourself from within. Because from within inside of this industry, there is so much competition to contend with. You really feel like a heavyweight boxing champion coming out of the corner, swinging every time, trying to keep your momentum alive and keeping on thriving and building off a momentum that you're trying to build for yourself based off your fan support and your niche. And there's always been something so special about this niche. I know I've often said this, but there is always something so special and forever supportive about this niche for how people always come together and choose to see the good in virtually every opportunity that we may have ever had to sit here and talk about Descendants of Zombies. A favorite moment we may have had, a favorite character we drew so much inspiration away from, there was always something to really value about having the chance to sit here and talk about our favorite characters and all these wonderful moments that brought us to that definitive realization that there was always something to really appreciate about being a fan. And what I got from last summer's Worlds Collide Tour was this undeniable energy seen in every crowd because the energy was truly undescribable. You guys really blew this one over the top, really blew it out of proverbial proportion. And you did that because you saw something special in your favorites, mostly because of all of the heroes that you saw on the stage for what was the first time ever for many of you in your life. And you wanted these moments to last for forever. And that's something I wanted to prolong. I wanted to ensure that these moments could have a chance of lasting for forever, and at least one dedicated YouTuber would always have something nice to say, because I always knew what it felt like to be all of you. And hear me out on this. I always knew what it felt like to be down in the crowd, to be a super fan of whomever you were a fan of, to buy their merch, to give these unbelievable reactions, to truly experience the Worlds Collide Tour for what it was truly meant to be experienced for having been a part of. And you guys really did take this tour to places it never thought it would ever get to. Because I remember the reactions of everybody who was a part of the cast of the Worlds Collide Tour, from the stagehands to the production team. Everybody was incredibly supportive and forever blown away by your love and support because you guys came out with so much undeniable love and support to show so much love for all of your favorites. Many of you were fans of Freya Sky, many of you were fans of Kylie Contrell, and you let them know how you truly felt. It was evident in the meet greets. It was evident in the people buying the tickets and buying up the merch. It was really incredible. And for all people, all they ever wanted to do was kind of come home and kind of criticize the Worlds Collide Tour for the production value, the way the performance criteria went. I think what we should have done more often than enough is kind of come on here and talk about the Worlds Collide Tour in a way that was always meant to be talked about and or profiled because so many people took something to value away from the product. There was something forever and always magical about how the songs were performed, how the performance criteria went. And I think if more people kind of truly put that into perspective, there would always be something really to value about a performance that may have been given by Freya Sky. Because I know that Freya's performances were really blown out of the water. And now we look ahead to the future of Descendants, which obviously will involve ushering in a brand new cast that will make up the cast of Hidden Heroes, which is coming our way in the summer of 2027, which means for the first time ever in just one summer, both Descendants and Zombies will have something on tap. will have something to provide us with. And it is going to be an incredible summer that many of us are just going to want to have the chance to be a part of and experience together. And I just can't wait to be here next summer to talk about Descendants of Zombies in the way that I've always wanted to talk about it, in the way that I've always believed that it should be talked about and really talked about for what it was truly worth. It was really a life-changing experience for not just myself, but for really everybody who just wanted to be a part of something so special and be included in the reviews. And I know that they may have received their fair share of criticism, but I think all we really have to do is give them more of a chance, because I think everybody who was ever a part of whatever cast you wanted to talk about, either the Descendant Zombies or even Camp Rock cast, they just wanted the opportunity to create. And there was no greater feeling in the world than having that opportunity to create, to really put yourself out there the way that you want to be put out there, for always being remembered for being someone who is very dedicated to her work. One of the people who was very dedicated to her work forever and always was always Hayden Panettiere. And I know I've talked a lot about Hayden Panettiere, but when you talk about somebody who could have really represented Descendants and been given such an incredible opportunity, I really think that Hayden Panettiere, if ever given that chance, would have offered something so special to Descendants, probably as a legendary character for how much she offered in the early thousands. Because just at the turn of the century, Hayden Panettiere really did offer a lot to Disney. She was featured in The Ice Princess. She was the voice of Kairi in the Kingdom Hearts video game series. She offered so much to A Bug's Life. She was the voice of Dot. I think that her Disney credits alone should have always been remembered. And that's why coming up here tomorrow, we will honor such a legend that Hayden Panettiere was. And I would like to cordially invite all of you to join me for those presentations tomorrow as we once again kind of resume the conversation about Descendants of Zombies and pick it up from where we left it off. Because we never seem to have enough time to talk about all of your favorites, either from the original stories or the new stories of the new generation that so many people have taken so much inspiration away from, which is kind of really the coolest feeling in the world when you know you have the chance to sit here and profile all of everybody's favorites in one program that has really taken this franchise to places it's never been before because we gave it more of a chance. And I had a theory or prediction that I wanted to share with you guys along the way. And, I took away a greater appreciation for everything that I may have ever had the chance to talk about and or profile. Because if anybody were to ever ask me, let's say a member of the media were to sit here and ask me, hey, Jonathan Clarke, what did you value most about having a chance to relate to people through posting original and relatable content revolving around Descendants and Zombies? I think what would always be relatable and always be remembered by myself is just a profound chance that Descendants of Zombies gave to me for really being life-changing, because it really allowed me to kind of put everything in perspective that was kind of happening around me in my own life. And it gave me a chance to kind of relate to more people than ever before, to hear your stories about what made you fans of Descendants of Zombies. And that was truly something to value, having the chance to sit here and hear every one of your stories that made you fans for a favorite character you may have had either from the Descendants franchise or from a classic fairy tale like Cinderella or Alice in Wonderland, which were really tales as old as time. Because when we talk about stories like Alice in Wonderland and Cinderella, we are celebrating the sequel to Peter Pan today, of course, Return to Neverland, which was a story that featured how Wendy's sister was mistaken for Wendy herself, taken captive by Captain Hook. And then that inspired the original Peter Pan cast, including Peter Pan and Wendy, to return to Neverland to save Wendy's sister from the clutches of Captain Hook. And we saw all the legendary characters make the return in a long-awaited sequel. I say this because Peter Pan will always be a treasured classic, and I think that really retelling his story through the power of Descendants of Zombies really puts it out there just how legendary some of these stories are, and how we can all take away a great deal of inspiration from tales as old as time, yes, but tales that will never ever be forgotten. Today, we've seen so much happen in the history of Disney. You can head over to thisdayindisneyhistory.com to get the gist of what is happening. I also remember today being a day that High School Musical, the musical, took away more awards at that year's Teen Choice Awards than ever before. It was one of Kenny Ortega's finest pieces of work, and it still holds the record for being the most watched and revered Disney Channel original movie in history, with a viewership sitting at over 17.5 million viewers, and that's really incredible. Descendants 2 just about surpassed it with over 9 to 10 million people having tuned in to watch it. And it's going to take some time before something surpasses the legacy of High School Musical 2, which was the highly awaited sequel that had 17.5 million people tune in for it. But I think Descendants is well on its way to doing just that, for just how colorful of personalities these characters had, and just how each one of them had an individual story. Meaning how Descendants never really focused on one story. It was three or four stories kind of coming together as one and allowing us to take away a greater appreciation for each individual story. And that was kind of really cool. How people had an individual story to share with the world. The story of Lonnie, the story of Jay, the story of Evie, which became the story of Mel, which went on to become a story that far more people took away a greater appreciation for because she wanted to be someone different and she wanted to be something different. She just didn't want to be a villain through the eyes of her mother. She wanted to be a queen of Oregon, but she wanted to be a queen of Oregon in her own way. That made her a very original character in any Disney Channel original movie that could have represented really any generation. And when we think about what made Dove Cameron so relatable, it was her presence, it was her fashion sense, it was her incredible amount of strength and inspiration that she gave to so many wonderful people. I've been recently binge watching every episode of Liv and Maddie, and I've really had no regrets because it kind of reflects on just how big of a fan I always was of Dove Cameron for her work ethic. And I think if there was one thing that I could give Dove Cameron praise for this evening, it would be how she never quit on herself and she never quit on all of you. And most of all, how she never really quit on herself given the considerable amount of pressure that she was always under. There was a considerable amount of pressure that Dove Cameron was always faced with, but there was nothing that she really could never do about it because the thing was, you guys were forever supportive of her, which allowed her to kind of really outshine all the criticism and all the competition that she had to contend with. And then came Kylie Cantrell and Malia Baker, who really made magic happen for this franchise. And we would go on to really witness far more opportunities being presented for the Descendants Zombies franchises than ever before because now we're looking at not only a Worlds Collide tour, but we're also looking at so many spin-off series, new Descendants stories, and new episodes of the Locker Diaries, which will not only feature cast members from Wicked Wonderland, but also hidden heroes, which has really got the conversation at an all-time high. Conversation is beginning to pick up once again about Descendants of Zombies, just as it did when The Rise of Red first rolled out and people were first made aware of The Rise of Red back in May of 2022. When this project was first announced by D23, everybody was absolutely flabbergasted. Everybody was so excited, overcome with so much joy and emotion, because for the first time in what would lead us up to a 5-year hiatus, and coming out of that, everybody just wanted to know what the new story of Descendants would have in store. And upon the revealing of the brand new title, The Rise of Red, which originally was supposed to have been called The Pocket Watch, there was really something to value about that. And there was really something so special to take away from every character's story and how people always had a greater appreciation to be had for those stories. And that's what's led us to these moments. And I just want to say thank you so much for every moment that we've had the chance to share in together. If you are somebody who would like to subscribe here to this YouTube channel, I would love for you to be a part of these conversations. Because the way I see this is, we have so much further to go, and we have so much more further to hold on to than probably ever before. And I would love for you guys to be a part of this conversation. So if you are somebody who has yet to subscribe here to this YouTube channel, I would very much appreciate it if you would hit my subscribe button. Because this conversation has so much more yet to offer, and we have so many realms left to unlock, and I just can't wait to see these realms like Neverland explored for what will be the first time ever, because I think what made Neverland so special was how a child really had to learn how to believe in dreams, and how every dream that they may have ever had was happening before their very eyes. And that's forever what always made Neverland something to really appreciate. So, hearing the conversation being at an all-time high for Neverland and characters from Neverland kind of seeing their introduction into the story for what will be the first time ever, it's kind of a really cool feeling to be presented to you. And I think that for any fan of Peter Pan's original story or the live action Wendy and Peter Pan, which just premiered on Disney Plus back in 2023, this is really going to be something to really value because I don't think anything has ever happened for Descendants quite like this ever before. So it really gives us something to value and quite appreciate. And that's why I just can't wait to be here to experience a year like 2028 because there really is something to value and forever and always appreciate about that feeling. So having said this, just thank you guys so much for always having been with me really from the first video that was ever uploaded here and really for having put up with me after all this time because even after all this time, so many people have forever and always remained subscribed here and listened to every theory and prediction that I've had to make along the way because I simply believe this was the strongest cast that I may have ever had the opportunity to talk about and or profile. And I've really gone on to have the time of my life, which really was a life-changing experience. I know this roller coaster ride that we may have been on has seen its fair share of ups and downs, but it was nothing that we could never really outride because we've really seen this one off into the sunset. And even though this may be the conclusion of one story and one arch, it's ushering in the beginning of a brand new arch with brand new characters from The Emperor's New Groove and Aladdin as we take a look at Hidden Heroes for what will be the first time ever, and a brand new cast that is unbelievably strong and by far one of the most talented casts that I've ever had the chance to talk about. I will always remember how talented I thought the original Descendants stars were, from Dove Cameron to Boo Boo Stewart to Sophia Carson, and I still believe they are one of the most talented casts that may have ever been assembled to kind of tell the story of forgotten about characters. And now we're ushering in a brand new generation of talent to really keep these stories alive, and the best way to allow them to do that is by showing them really an endless amount of love and support as we just simply give them a chance. That's what I would like for you to do, is give them a chance. It is entirely up to you. I will leave that decision entirely up to you because I know not every fan of Descendants of Zombies has obviously been made to feel the same, because every fan of Descendants of Zombies feels differently. But again, that's what presents diversity, and that's what allows me to sit here every evening and talk about this story in the way that I have. So for those of you who have loved these videos really from its inception, thank you so much for always showing an undeniable amount of love and support for every video that I may ever have the chance to create and upload here on this show. And thank you so much for always having the time to have watched and appreciated really all of these videos.